Now that we officially have the exchange mechanic in Dokkan, I want to give you guys some of the units I think most people would want to have this ability. I'm also going to give them a quick mock kit that I think would suit them, and you guys can let me know in the comments if I cooked or if you have a better idea for a unit or kit. Starting off with number 10, I think we can all agree a Zamasu and Goku Black unit would go crazy. You start a Zamasu who has 70% dodge, guard, and regens 25% HP at the end of every turn for 3 turns. If he gets hit, he gains an additional 15% dodge for the turn and has 40% damage reduction when receiving a super attack. He would also greatly stack defense on supers, and on turn 4 he can exchange with Goku Black, who has 70% damage reduction for 1 turn with permanent guard that drops to 50% for the rest of the fight. He also greatly stacks attack permanently and massively raises defense for 1 turn on super. Obviously extra stats and additionals or crit would be built into their kit somewhere too, but this next part is where they get interesting. The transformation would either be into Rose or Merge Zamasu. We would either have a really good Zamasu that can finally link with other Merge Zamasus or a really good Rose. Rose would obviously have the domain mechanic that physical TUR Rose has, but way stronger and impactful, lasting 3 turns. He would also greatly stack attack and defense on super, and his domain would be for all Dismal Future units, giving the whole team guard and 50% attack and defense. And yes, I'm aware this would be bad for LR Tech Zamasu, but I think by the time we get this unit, hopefully Tech Zamasu isn't the only relevant Future Saga unit, or he got an easy A that is really strong and doesn't make his domain the main value of his kit in hard fights. Up next, for number 9, I've got Goku and Hit. This would be a generational unit. The unit starts as Hit and can exchange with Goku 3 turns after first showing up, and 1 turn later Goku will have the ability to transform into his blue form or Kaioken blue form for a few turns. I don't know if it's a good design, but the first 2 would be dodge centered and focus on stacking attack and defense greatly, and while blue Goku is out, he would massively stack defense with a bunch of additionals, so that by the time the form runs out, even Hit and Goku can at least tank normals if they don't dodge or the fight has dodge disabled. My second idea would be a unit that starts as Goku, then turns into Hit, and has a domain that guarantees dodges as well as guarantees hits on the boss. This domain would also buff joined forces and tournament participants by 77% attack and defense for 4 turns, as well as tell new viewers to like the video and subscribe to the channel since we're super close to 10k. Anyways, moving on to number 8, we've got a potentially very interesting unit for the Realm of Gods category. This card would be a Beerus and Whis exchange unit. In my opinion, this unit could literally be the perfect yin and yang. Whis would be the perfect dodge unit with some crazy built-in additionals and guard, while Beerus would be all defense, guard, and damage reduction with a high chance to crit and an ultra powerful super attack that massively raises attack and defense since it only happens 1 to 2 times a turn. His transformation would be a rage state that gives him the purple aura and counters against normal attacks for 3 turns. The Whis active would be a Ghost Usher with guaranteed dodge for 3 turns. So on one hand you've got Whis with dodge, stun, and multiple stacking supers, and on the other you got a crazy damage output from Beerus with amazing tanking. This unit is essentially capable of doing it all as long as you know what you need. Beerus for slot 1 and Whis for damage in slot 2 or 3. For number 7, I've got a bit of a weird one, but hear me out. It's Nova Shenron and Ice Shenron. This unit could really help GT bosses if it comes out when all the GT bosses get an easy A and have a viable team. But what makes this unit interesting is that after a few turns, they get a domain that when activated makes it so Ice Shenron can stun and Nova can seal. The only drawback I would give to these two is that they would need orbs to get their defense, but of course they would have orb changing to increase their value. But that's not all for number 7, because I'm going to give you guys a 2-for-1 special on the GT bosses team. Now you might be wondering who else could be on this team with a reversible exchange, and my answer is Perfect Cell and Final Form Frieza. These two with the proper categories would be amazing. I would give both of them their own unique active skill, and I would give Cell a healing factor while I give Frieza's side guaranteed hit and crits. Cell would be your slot 1 that heals you at the end of the turn, and Frieza would be your damage dealer that comes out when the Shenron stun or seal the boss. Most of the fight would be spent as Cell, but Frieza would be like a hidden trump card to finish fights, and to be safe I would give Frieza the ability to nullify AoEs and a high chance to nullify Ki Blast supers with a Death Ball counter. I know I'm making these cards OP, but GT bosses need some love because they have almost never been good. Up next for number 6, I've got a free-to-play April Fool's Puar and Oolong, and a Valentine's Trunks and Mai unit. Of course, this would be your standard free-to-play unit that's actually very solid, with dodge on Puar and a fear mechanic on Oolong that does 1 attack break per turn. Oolong wouldn't be able to attack though, he would just essentially be a standby that deletes an attack and tanks for you, while Puar calls Yamcha to do all the damage for you. Trunks and Mai is just a Valentine's unit with some cute animations. I don't really have a unique kit in mind, but they could be a good support duo for the Future Saga team. Number 5 is a Planet Namek Saga Classic. Jace and Birder. Ginyu and his team need an easy A, so if they did a celebration where we got some new Ginyu Force units, this would be an amazing carnival unit, and since Birder is the fastest in the universe, he's obviously a dodge character, and Jace is a defensive juggernaut that can nullify hand-to-hand super attacks with his face, like in the show. They would both have an active skill where they do the combo attack from the show, and each of them would gain a different effect from it. Birder gets 300% attack for the turn with a Ghost Usher for the turn, and Jace gets 300% defense for 3 turns with a targeting mechanic for the first turn. Number 4 is for Dragoon DT, because we've got a Kale and Kefla that transforms into Kefla. Kefla's side would transform into Kefla, while Kale's side would just transform into the legendary Super Saiyan Rage mode that goes on for 2 to 3 turns. Kefla would have a targeting mechanic that gives her 300% defense and stacks her attack and defense up by 20% for each hit received in the turn. Then I'd let her do 4 additionals during the turn she activates her targeting skill to maximize damage. The reason I'm not going into so much detail for every kit is because most of the normal stuff will be pretty redundant in most of their kits, like defense and guard and damage reduction. I just want to highlight the unique abilities I would give them on top of their already solid base kits. Number 3 is Golden Frieza into Gogeta, who then transforms into Gogeta Blue. This is a reference to the moment in the Broly movie where Frieza is getting beat up by Broly while Goku and Vegeta are trying to fuse. Frieza would essentially be like LR Golden Frieza, who starts at 90% damage reduction, loses 10% damage reduction every turn, but this one would have the ability to keep 50% damage reduction with guard and builds up defense for every attack. Gogeta would be a dodge unit that would essentially be just like the 9th anniversary LR Gogeta, except his active would be a domain instead of a targeting skill. The domain would be a better version of Tech UI's domain, lasting longer and buffing dodge of all units by 15% while nullifying anti-dodge mechanics. Number 2 would be SSJ Vegeta into Super Saiyan God Goku, who then turns into SSJ Goku. This one is another if it ain't broke, don't fix it design, because Vegeta would be a great tank in base form with the ability to enter a rage mode on turn 3, or exchange with God Goku on turn 4, who then transforms back into SSJ Goku through an active skill that can be activated at any time. This idea is kind of like a combo of the old Tech Vegeta and physical God Goku in terms of kit, but I would personally make the SSJ Goku side of the unit way better, since back when Goku was meta, almost no one ever transformed him since it just wasn't worth it. Rage Vegeta would just be like the STR unit that goes invincible for a few turns and deals a bunch of damage. This unit would do well in a meta where dodge is useful again, but even if it's not, the Vegeta side would be a very useful tank who can just be used for the majority of the fight in case dodge is not allowed. And last but not least, I think this could even be the Saiyan Day or Worldwide Down Celebration unit, since it would be very fitting. The unit would be an SSJ3 Vegeta that exchanges with an SSJ4 Goku. Vegeta would have an active skill that guarantees dodge and Ghost Ushers the next turn with a Bulma Bath cutscene. Goku's active would be him powering up and having Majin Buu fly in and hit the boss in the back of the head 3 times. Goku would be a slot 1 that essentially is a way better version of Int SSJ4 Full Power Goku, and Vegeta is a support that buffs all Daima/power beyond Super Saiyan characters with 50% defense. Anyways, do you guys like these designs, or should I leave it up to Amatsu to cook? I know this isn't my usual type of content, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Check out some of my other videos on screen right now, and thank you all so much for watching.